Welcome back to the Fenway Focus. This is officially our second episode here of the Fenway Focus. My name is Derek. I'm here with Jason. We have a decent amount of stuff to talk about. It is the day before opening day, and that means we have some roster takes to take, or whatever, however you want to call it, some roster analysis, breakdown. We'll cover the lineup, the rotation, the bullpen, and figure out what's going on with this Red Sox team. We'll talk about some of the potential awards for them, as well as some hot takes at the end, giving some of our hot takes. And we also slide in our record predictions as well. So first things first, I'll hand it off to Jason. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty solid. Had a allergy scare earlier today, but other than that, I feel good. I'm ready to do this opening day eve roster analysis projection. I'm ready to give some hot takes. I've been, thinking about this all week. And I'm just excited, Derek, that baseball's back. I've been waiting a long time, and it was probably one of the most wacky off seasons I've ever experienced. We have one guy kind of who took forever to sign, and you still have some guys out there right now, but I'm ready for baseball to come back, and I'm ready for Red Sox baseball, and I'm ready for baseball until September. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a good time now. We get Jason's thoughts here. We're going to dive straight into this roster analysis breakdown, whatever you want to call it. So first things first, I think we'll start with we'll start with the lineup, actually. Let's make it fun. We'll start with the lineup, the part that's supposedly supposed to be the strongest part of the Red Sox. We'll start with the lineup. As of right now, it seems like Jarren Duran may be starting in right field, which is a bit interesting. He's played a little bit of right field recently. That was a thought that I think me and you both shared, Jason, that he's not going to play right field, but maybe he will. It'll be interesting. Rafael is on the opening day roster, so he seemingly will be getting a start in center field. You have left field will likely be Tyler O'Neill. You also have Yoshida as the mostly DHing. He'll be the primary DH. Obviously, the infield's kind of set. Casas and Devers at the corner, Story at short, and seems like a platoon at second with Emmanuel Valdez and probably Pablo Reyes, although Rafaela might get some time at second base as well. And then Connor Wong obviously will be doing the catching with Reese McGuire mixed in there as well. Seems like Bobby Dahlbeck's likely making the MLB roster. That was another big story. So, what are your takes on this position player group, Jason? The lineup, I want to touch on a couple guys, the big guys, maybe Devers or whatnot. Maybe want to touch on some of the smaller guys, maybe unknown quantities, maybe if you want to call it, with maybe like a Rafaela or someone. But what are your thoughts on this lineup?
Well, I mean, it was what Alex Cora said. It was kind of a battle in spring training. Rafaela he had a very solid chance of not making the roster, right? I said kind of in this offseason, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of guys, and we have a lot of outfielders, and, there's a world where Rafaela starts the year in the minors, and, people were hesitant to bring him up at first because of the whole service time thing, and people thought they were going to stash him in the minors because of more service time things. But I think at the end of the day, Rafaela is going to be he's a great addition to this team who, quite frankly, struggled defensively, had some of the worst defense I think you and I have ever seen. You have guys like also Story's back. We'll see how healthy he can stay. He had a real spring training this time, so hard to come up with excuses now to either a slow start. I know in 22 he had a kid and then he got the stomach bug or food poisoning. And then in 23, obviously, with the internal brace surgery, didn't come back till August. He'll definitely help Devers out on the left side of the infield. I'm very excited for him, too. Gold Glove potential. Probably won't win a Gold Glove. We'll get into that later. But the only really two spots you have a platoon in are second base and right/left field. Second base was supposed to be Vaughn Grissom, but starts on the IL with what injury is it? What
Vaughn Grissom?
Do you remember the injury?
Vaughn Grissom has
hamstring. Groin.
At least that's what it is according to fans.
Mata's the hamstring. Yeah. Mata's the hamstring. Yeah, but I know he had a leg injury, but um, I'm excited for guys like Abreu. I think people don't really talk about him too much. He, I think he has a potential to play really good defense with Rafaela. I think we saw it a lot in Worcester. Um, but unfortunately, Abreu's probably going to platoon with either O'Neill and
or
Duran
Snyder when he's healthy.
or Rest Snyder when he's healthy. I just don't think could he be the everyday left field or right fielder? Yeah, but right now it looks like they're gonna have Duran in right, which kind of makes sense because at Fenway you do kind of need a center fielder in right. But then again, against a righty, why wouldn't you just have Duran in left and Abreu in right?
Yeah.
But then against the lefty, it makes more sense to put O'Neill in. I like O'Neill in right. I don't know what the issue is. Just because he's like, oh, he didn't play right field in St. Louis. Well, he couldn't. He had a bunch of guys like Carlson and Bader.
Tommy Edman
who are also
played a little bit of outfield.
Tommy Edman played.
And they had last year. They had Jordan Walker in the outfield, and too many guys in general in St. Louis to go around. Red Sox have a similar problem with Abreu. Too many guys for too few spots in the outfield, and I think that's kind of the gist. I think that's the gist of it, basically. Too many guys for too few spots, but they should be good at least. You know, yes, you're hoping for a bit of a bounce back for Tyler O'Neill, and for him to stay healthy. But with Rafaela, you're going to get elite defense, good base running out of him. It's just how much will the bat play, but he can lock up an everyday spot because of the defense, right? Duran, we saw what he could do last year, kind of be the spark to the offense and whatnot. He can bring, when the team needs a boost, he can be the guy at the top of the lineup. Let me get on base. Now let me steal second. Or a little, blooper in the outfield, and he gets a double on it, and then all you need is Raffy to hit a single, and he's coming around and scoring, right? Or Story gets a hit, or Casas gets a hit, especially if there's no outs in an inning. You start off your first inning, Duran gets a little cheap double, which I say cheap in terms of, it's not a double for anyone else on the team. Duran's the only one with a double. And you look at it and you go, okay, now Duran's on second. Now you have Devers, Story, Casas. All one of them's going to do is get a hit to drive him in, or two fly outs, or, a ground out to the right side of the infield, then a fly out or whatnot. It's not that hard to drive him in. So, him being that spark, I think, is an interesting one. We talked about the middle of the lineup. It's all infielders, which, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it's a good actually way to move to the infield here because there is a lot of talent in the infield. Second base, a little bit of an unknown, especially without Vaughn Grissom being healthy to start the year. But I will say, this infield is going to be extremely, extremely fun. When you look at the Red Sox infields, you want to say their most recent successful year was 21. I'd honestly, if this infield is at full health, you add Vaughn Grissom into this mix, I think this infield's probably better than that team's infield. And I know you had Bogarts and Devers, but it's Bobby Dahlbeck was playing first base for the majority of the year. I know they ended up getting Schwarber to play first, but even then, there were some big defensive problems with that. And then... Yeah, but, still, the majority of the year, they had Bobby Dahlbeck playing first base, and not the hot Bobby Dahlbeck, And then at second base, it ended up being Jose Iglesias playing second base, and Christian Arroyo had a good year, do not get me wrong, but, it's Christian Arroyo. The ceiling was somewhat limited, So I think when you look at this infield, I like this. I think maybe I'm looking a little bit too good on Trevor Story in terms of, feeling like he's going to be better than what he has been the last 2 years. Maybe I'm too high on him, but at the same time, I think this infield, Devers, I think is probably coming into the season. I'm more confident in him having a good year than I ever have been this year, especially with the spring training, especially with the renewed approach. I think with Casas at first, he's set. Story, I'm very high on. I think he brings a nice dynamic to the team. Second base, we'll figure it out, basically. Also, Yoshida DHing, we don't want to gloss over him. And then I like Wong behind the plate defensively. Reese McGuire, I'm not super excited about, but what's there to get excited about Reese McGuire? Not much.
Right.
But he's a backup catcher, so, whatever, I guess.
Yeah, and the catchers will platoon. I think there's no solid guy who's going to get all the reps. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to have a guy who, a catcher especially, who comes in and plays over 120 games. I mean, you're just not going to have that anymore. With the Red Sox, could that change when Teal comes up? Maybe, but as of right now, they're going to platoon with Wong and McGuire. That's probably the plan. But I think this is a good time to go to the pitchers. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And I do like the pitching situation this year in terms of, obviously, you have Wong behind the plate. I like it a lot. Teal eventually coming up is going to help. And they have some nice guys in AAA that I think throughout spring break it helped. Having like a Roberto Perez there, I think it's going to help this pitching staff in terms of development. I'm actually shocked that it's not more of a question mark of Roberto Perez making the roster because of how much he can help the pitching staff, but that's a different discussion. In terms of the rotation, we'll start with the rotation. Obviously, the rotation is set. It's going to be Brian Bayo, Nick Pivetta, Cutter Crawford, Tanner Houck, and then Garrett Whitlock rounding out the rotation. Bayo obviously got his extension. Then you have Pivetta, who's on in a contract year, in a walk year, basically. You have Cutter Crawford, who still, as good as he was last year, hasn't done it for a full season in the rotation. And then you have Houck and Whitlock, who still aren't proven as starters. So there are a lot of question marks in this rotation. Jason, what are your thoughts on this rotation?
Look, we'll get to hot takes later, but this rotation is not great in terms of sustainability. It's not, or let me rephrase. The odds are very high for an injury to happen because Houck, Whitlock, and even kind of Crawford, they really haven't had that full season in the rotation yet. And we had a couple scares last year. I mean, we had the freak injury with Houck. We also had the elbow scare with Whitlock. People thought he needs surgery, but it ended up okay. But we all thought in this offseason when they got Giolito that, now Whitlock's back in the bullpen. We're okay. They have really no choice. As much as I like Winkowski, as much as I like Criswell, I think the better option would have definitely been Whitlock, just because he's had more experience than either of them. And if they were to go somewhere this season, which I wouldn't bank on at all, you would have someone who has experience in the rotation. But don't be surprised if there's an injury in the first 3 weeks, is what I'm trying to say, too.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think here's the thing that gets Red Sox fans a little bit caught up in this rotation discussion is when you look at the overall picture of it, I think most Red Sox fans are like, okay, worst case scenario, Cutter Crawford's a 4, but realistically, in absolute worst case scenario, he's a 4, but realistically, we should be signing 2 starters, and he's our 5. At best, he's our 5th starter, and if not, he's our long man in the bullpen. Because I think a lot of people are like, okay, you bring in 2 starters, you keep Chris Sale, now you have your 2 starters, you have Sale, you have Bayo and Pivetta, and you roll with that, right? And heck, who knows, maybe even Pivetta ends up in the bullpen, right? I think that's what a lot of people were thinking. A little bit unrealistic, and I'm not gonna lie, I did that a couple times this offseason. I'm like, ooh, does Houck, Whitlock in the bullpen? That sounds really fun. Crawford as the 5. Now, I wasn't saying that was going to be a worst case scenario situation, but there are some people who are like, in worst case scenario, Cutter Crawford shouldn't be anything more than a 5. Which should it be a 3? No. But as a 4, I think you can live with it. But as a 3, I think it's definitely a little bit question markish. Now, this rotation has a ton of upside. Do not get me wrong. Bayo, ton of upside. Nick Pivetta, ton of upside. Cutter Crawford has some pretty decent upside too. I don't think he's gonna be an ace or anything, but I think it's very well seen being a being a decent, very good 4 starter, right? Maybe even a 3 on a team that's a rough rotation, maybe this Red Sox team. Who knows? But I think he's more of a 4-ish, 4-5. But he could still be very solid in your rotation. Then Houck and Whitlock, they both have upside too. It's just can they figure it out in the rotation? But they have upside, right? This is a rotation. This is almost like a high-risk, high-reward rotation, basically. When people talk about prospects, they talk about, oh, this guy's a high-risk, high-reward prospect. He could either turn out and be amazing, or it could be terrible, right? He could either pan out and be this star-type player, 5-tool guy, or he doesn't make it past AA. That feels like, that's what this rotation feels like. It's either they're going to be really good, or they're not going to be that good at all, or they're just going to have injuries and fall apart.
Real quick, and we'll go to bullpen in a second. Just think of it. One injury, what did they do? Criswell? What happens after that?
Yeah, just like
Brandon Walter,
yeah, just Chase Anderson move into the rotation. Like who knows?
Winkowski,
Yeah, it starts to get rough after that. Now, I mean, yeah, Winkowski, that's another guy who could maybe make some starts.
and then you have the
Do you
opener,
start
which
going-
I think they're going to use a lot.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me. But so it's definitely a little bit of a rough spot. Moving on to the bullpen, obviously I brought up Chase Anderson. He did just recently sign with the Red Sox. Seems like he will be the long man in the bullpen. And so far, it's pretty much mostly confirmed. It seems like the bullpen. We obviously Kenley and Chris Martin, barring their health before opening day, because you can never be sure. And then it seems like Bernadino's locked in, Campbell and Slayton are locked in, it seems, and Joely Rodriguez is locked in as a second lefty. Winkowski is likely locked in, I would say, but you never know. They could go with Weiser, but I doubt it. I think they're going to go with Winkowski. So, where are we feeling on this bullpen? Because this bullpen's interesting, because there are some guys that I look at and I like, and there are other guys where I'm just like, ooh, question mark.
So I'll start with Chase Anderson. Everyone's gonna look at it and it's like, oh, this guy kind of sucked. Well, I don't know if you know, but he developed a sweeper last season. Fits the Breslow profile. He throws fast and has swing and miss stuff, and his velocity is up during the spring training. So right there fits the Breslow profile, and that's, in my opinion, for him to be a long reliever. Okay. He's a righty, though, but you know what? You can never have too much pitching. My Weiser was probably going to make it, but now it's definitely going to be Chase Anderson. But then, yeah, you have Jansen, Martin, easy. Winkowski, give him another shot. I think he 2.87 ERA last year. Keep him there. I mean, they're probably going to have to use him in the rotation, but I just keep him there. I just like him in the bullpen. He was really good last year. Joely, I mean, he was so good up until his oblique injury last spring training. If we can get kind of that version, he was never the same after that.
There's also a good clubhouse guy. There's also that too.
Big clubhouse guy. They don't really have veterans, if you think about it. That not too much.
Like Kenley,
Jansen,
Chris Martin.
Story. Martin.
If you want to call Pivetta a veteran.
Yeah.
He's 31, I mean.
Yeah, and then Bernadino. Bernadino's probably going to regress. And then Isaiah Campbell, I like him a lot. And then Slayton, I love. I'll get into that. Yeah, I just love him a lot. Like, it fits the Breslow profile. Between AA and AAA last year, he was kind of dominant. 2.87 ERA in 35 outings between AA and AAA in the Rangers system. High velocity, good swing and miss stuff. Has to be on the roster for 90 days until he is an actual Red Sox player, because if they try to option him, he goes Rule 5 rules, that good stuff. So I'm excited for the potential of the bullpen. I think you said it at the beginning, Derek, the strength would be the offense. I think this team has the potential to have their strength be the bullpen. I really do.
Definitely, and I feel the bullpen's it's more safe than the rotation. But if you get a guy like a Slayton to be really good in the bullpen, then Winkowski goes back to what he was last year in the bullpen, and Bernadino doesn't regress too much, and you get Joely Rodriguez at his best as a second lefty, and then it's okay, some stuff's starting to go, and we'll see. Obviously, I think the bullpen also relies on Jansen's health and Martin's health very much so, and whether or not they get traded mid-season too, because that very well could be a possibility, depending on the team's record, which a lot of people have them penciled in for last place. If they do finish in last place, I'd assume they're trading Jansen and maybe even Martin at the deadline. I would trade both if I were the Red Sox, if that's the position they were in. So I think overall, the bullpen has a chance to be very good, but depending on where the team is mid-season, there could be a lot of changes in this bullpen. And not necessarily in a bad way, because you could see guys getting chances that they wouldn't have had before in the bullpen, which could be very interesting, because there are a lot of guys in AAA in the bullpen who, might be getting a shot. at some point in the big leagues this year in the bullpen. Guys like a Luis Guerrero, for example, right? So I think it's going to be very interesting. Now moving on away, let's move away from the team. Yeah, let's move away from the bullpen a little bit. Move away from the the just team oriented. Let's talk about some of the more player oriented stuff here. We'll talk about some Red Sox preseason awards. We will go through and give out preseason awards to Red Sox players who we feel will win these awards. We have a Red Sox MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, and Comeback Player of the Year for the big league roster. So we'll start with those. First things first, we'll start with Red Sox MVP. I'll hand it over to you, Jason. Who's going to be the Red Sox MVP in 2024?
How can it not be Rafael Devers? Okay, the guy is just so good. Okay. Oh yes, he's had some, trouble as of like, can he get over the next hump with the home runs? He'll give you 30 home runs, but can he get 35, 30, 38, 40? Okay. And I was alluding to trouble. I meant to say defense, but his defense is a massive question mark. 19 errors last season, and it was a very generous, scoring season, right? I think you know as well as I do. A lot of the hits that were called probably should have been errors, but
yeah.
Look, in terms of clutchness, he's not the best in those moments, but he's just a superstar. How can you not like Rafael Devers? What about you? Who's yours?
I have Rafi, and I think his defense will be somewhat relieved. His defensive question marks will be somewhat relieved by the fact of Trevor Story playing shortstop. Last year, 0 defensive runs saved, 0 outs above average for Story at short. Smaller sample size, and you see 0. Oh, that's not that great. 0. That's like league average defensively, kind of. Like, literally 0 defensive run save, you're just like bang average defensively. And guess what? If Devers is right on average defensively, he's just mid defensively, that's amazing.
You'll take that any day of the week. I'll take 2022 Rafael Devers. Okay?
Or I'll take end of the 2023 season with Story at shortstop, Rafael Devers. You know what I mean? So it's like, with Story at short, that should help so much. And then also, too, his approach this spring training. Driving the ball to left field. Last year, at times, it felt like I got a little pull happy at times. And not even that, none of this, it wasn't a non-willingness to go to left field, but he wasn't actively looking for it. Felt like at times. And David Ortiz, his big thing was like, no, just hit the ball to left field. You get the wall out there. You either get a cheap home run or it's an easy hit off the wall. And it could very well be doubles off the wall. And I think Rafi, was in 2019, had 50-something doubles it was?
Uh-huh.
Like, imagine we get a Rafi who hits 35 homers, has 50 doubles, and it's just like a menace, basically.
The Rafi of old used all fields.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes,
I don't know if you remember that.
I'm not saying he doesn't.
Yeah.
Yes, and not saying he doesn't do that, but this spring it's been a legitimate focus of his. I think 3 of his 4 home runs were to left field. He's been driving the ball the other way. Not just hitting it the other way, driving it the other way. He has the power to do that. And guess what? He has more than enough power. If he pulls the ball, he can hit it out in Fenway even though it's 380 dead right field. Who cares, right? He's got the power to do it if he wants, but you can be much more efficient using the monster to your aid. And I think for Rafi, he's shown very much a willingness and want to do that. So I think that's going to be a massive change for him this year. Now moving to the pitching side of things.
You have Devers as your MVP?
Cy Young. Yes. Okay. I do. So we'll move to the Cy Young side of things, the Red Sox preseason Cy Young Award. Jason, who do you have?
Another kind of obvious one. Bayo. You gotta go. I gotta go with Bayo, man. He had a rough September, okay? Nothing really to play for. And he played a lot of day games, which he's known not to do well in those. But, he got paid, and he got paid for a reason. I think he was working with Pedro, he's working with Andrew Bailey, kind of get that fastball command going. That's one of his biggest struggles, just fastball, and pitch usage too. Use more of that changeup. Don't be afraid to throw it, because I think at some times he was using that sinker too much to try to blow away hitters or try to force that ground ball. His changeup is lethal too. So if he can use that more and go deep in starts, that's gonna save the Red Sox a lot in terms of the bullpen. And assuming he stays healthy, I think that's for all these predictions, just assuming these players stay healthy. I think he has a chance to break out. This is his breakout season. I'm just gonna say it right now. This is Brian Bayo's breakout season. Has to be. No?
The the contract shows too the Red Sox have faith in him. And I think the thing with Bayo is sometimes he gets a little bit too like contact happy at times in terms of pitching to contact. Last year, we only walked 6.7% of hitters last year. I like that a lot because he did struggle a bit with walks in 2022 at times in his stint in the big leagues. Last year, he managed the walks well, but like I said, I think I pitched to contact a little bit too much at times. It did help lower the walks, though. I mean, also didn't help when he had Kike Hernandez at shortstop. That doesn't help at all. Because even if you could say, oh well, it ends up being an unearned run, but now he's got to throw more pitches to get out of an inning, and then he doesn't go deep in games, and maybe he starts to run into trouble and gets more fatigued because he's now throwing more high leverage pitches and whatnot. So I mean, probably having a better defensive infield, at least at shortstop, which also affects your third baseman and your first baseman, I think that'll help him very much. It also affects your second baseman as well. So it just affects your whole infield defense. So maybe that'll help him too. But I'd like to see him kind of chase a strikeout a little bit more. Yeah, it's okay to pitch your contact at times, right? Nothing wrong with it. But last year it was just he's trying to be more efficient, go deep into games. So I'm going to pitch the contact. Will try and throw less pitches. And then it might end up causing him to throw pitches because, no offense to Kike, but Kike misses a grounder or he throws the ball away or whatnot. And now instead of maybe striking a guy out on 5 pitches, yeah, you got to ground out in 2. But now you got to run around second, and you got to face 3 more hitters because you got to face a couple more hitters, and you end up throwing more pitches anyways, and more high leverage pitches. But I think Bayo, it will be a breakout year for him. But like I said, I'd like to see him chase the strikeout a little bit more. It's okay if he walks a couple more hitters. It's okay. It's not the end of the deal. It was 92nd percentile in ground ball rate last year. So you could really tell ground ball pitcher trying to get ground balls too last year. I wouldn't be against it if you moved away from that a little bit. Now keep your identity, still force ground balls and whatnot, but chase the strikeout when it's there, right? Don't be afraid to throw a couple more pitches to strike a guy out because strikeouts will serve you well, and also too the best pitchers strike guys out for the most part, right? So it can be a measure of success in a broader view as well. So I got Bayo as well. I think it just makes too much sense. Moving on now, we're going to discuss Rookie of the Year. So the Red Sox Rookie of the Year, I'll hand it over to you, Jason.
Why don't you go first? I've gone first both times.
All right. My Rookie of the Year pick might be a little bit of a shocker. I'm going with Justin Slayton. I have him as someone who is going to be a very, very big piece of this Red Sox bullpen. He's looked great in spring training. As much as I'd love to go with Rafaela, I feel like I go Slayton too in some sense. Not that I don't think Rafaela is going to be good, but I think especially if Jansen and Martin get moved at the deadline, I think you close out this year and Justin Slayton's your best reliever. I don't think that's too far-fetched. And I don't think it's far-fetched. I don't even think it's far-fetched because, you're getting rid of the 2 best relievers. Heck, if Martin gets moved and even Jansen was there, I could see Slayton becoming the setup man and looking better than Jansen and being okay, yeah, that's your setup man for the next however long. I don't know if I put him in closer role. I kind of have that in my mind set for Luis Guerrero long term. But I think Slayton fits very, very well, and it's going to be very exciting to see what he does in this bullpen. There's a reason the Red Sox traded for him. He still has Rule 5 stuff attached to him because he was a Rule 5 draft pick, then the Red Sox traded for him. But overall, I like this a lot. Last year in AA, he had a 37.4% strikeout rate. Last year in AAA, it was 31%, but he only pitched 8 innings in AAA, so can't really go off that. But elite strikeout rate, only walked 8% of hitters in AA last year. The walks might tick up a little bit, but even in the bullpen, walks aren't my massive concern in the bullpen because a gazillion relievers walk guys. I'm just more worried about striking guys out, getting through innings, and not allowing runs to score. And if he's striking guys out, that's typically a good sign as a reliever because the best relievers strike guys out, typically, for the most part, right? There are some outliers, but some of the best relievers Yohan Duran, Class A, not as much. He's a little bit of an outlier, but we saw Felix Bautista last year struck out almost half the hitters he faced.
Yeah,
that's insane, right? So strike guys out in the bullpen and you'll be fine. And he's going to strike out a lot of guys, I feel. So I have him as my Rookie of the Year.
I mean, there's a lot to like about Slayton, a lot of upside. But my guy's Cedar Rafaela. Just, he's going to be so good defensively. I think he'll be better than what JBJ was in his prime. He's going to dominate center field at Fenway. He kind of didn't have the best debut last year, but I think there's a lot to learn in the majors, and he'll be the starting center fielder on opening day. Biggest question is the bat. Is his bat going to... If you can get an average bat, fine. I'm fine with it. The most value of it for him is going to be on the defensive side with his glove. Okay? I think he has a lot of potential, and remember, he's still a rookie, and I just can't wait for him. His approach to the plate needs to be better. That's just a fact. That's why he's put in Double-A.
Has been better in spring.
And then again, it's spring training and a lot of
small sample size
and a
He's
skewed.
also pulled the ball like 75%.
And it's a
of the
skewed
time.
sample size because a lot of pitchers are throwing fastballs to get velocity up. So there's that. Take that however you like it. Spring training is never indicative of the regular season, but that's literally what we can go off of. That's the only thing we can go off of, and all I hear from Rafaela is he's so good defensively. So that's why I got Rafaela.
And he's a great base runner too. You can't forget that part too. Elite base runner, base running IQs, like on a scale of 1 to 10, like out of 11. Elite base runner too. Kind of Mookie-esque. I hate putting Mookie comparisons on him, but like I've always said, he's like a Mookie-esque base runner because his base running IQ is just that high. That's how good of a base runner he is. Mookie's not the fastest guy in the world. He's fast, not the fastest, but his base running decision-making is amazing, and Rafaela's in that kind of tier of elite base runner in terms of base running IQ. So I compare him to Mookie in that sense in terms of base running because the IQ is so high there. We'll move on to Comeback Player of the Year. We'll wrap it up with Comeback Player of the Year here for our preseason awards here. So Comeback Player of the Year, I'll start with this. I have Trevor Story. I feel like it's kind of obvious. For Story, I just think, he gets a full season. He, last year, was one of the best defensive shortstops over the whole season in terms of defensive run save, outside of average or whatnot, in terms of any defensive metric. He was one of the best shortstops defensively in all of baseball, and that's not even considering the fact he only played, 40 games? I think he had 8 outs above average last year. And that small of a sample size is outrageous. And I think overall, you're looking at a legitimate Gold Glove level shortstop defensively. When's the last time the Red Sox have had that? No offense to Xander Bogaerts, he's not a Gold Glove level shortstop. I know he's nominated for the Gold Glove, in 22 it was? Not a Gold Glove level shortstop. I'm sorry, he's not.
A-Rod's always say he is.
Steven Drew.
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
No, he's not. He's not a Gold Glove level shortstop. Bogaerts was. And Story is that. And when's the last time the Red Sox really had that in a shortstop? Think about their shortstops, right? It's like, you go back and it's like Bogaerts, no. It's like, what? Steven Drew, no. It's like, what? Marco Scudero, no. Julio Lugo, no. It's like, Jed Lowry, no.
Orlando Cabrera, no.
Who's the last guy?
Kind of.
Yeah, probably. And he was there for
not
how
long.
long? Kind of. How long was he? No, he wasn't with the Red Sox for. When's the last time the Red Sox have a legitimate Gold Glove caliber shortstop? I can't remember a time. At least when I've been alive that I can remember with my brain, right? If he played every day, but he can't because he's unfortunately not good enough. But we still love him.
I see what you did.
But yeah, I think that's... yeah. But...
Oh my god.
But no, that's why I have a Story as my comeback player of the year. And then the offense, I think he very well could surprise some people offensively. And he's going to steal bases too when he gets on base. I think that's huge. Jason, who do you have as comeback
Story's
player of the year?
the obvious pick, man. But I think he's the only pick. I would pick Houck, but I mean, is it really comeback player of the year? He did have an ERA over 5 and he got a freak injury mid-season. I don't know if that's comeback player worthy, but no, it's Story.
You could pick Liam Hendricks, but is he even
that's up for question. And even if he does, I personally, no, I don't think he'll win it unless he's
We'll pick him for 2025.
Yeah, we'll see. And, I echo everything you said. The biggest thing is he had a legit spring training, like I said earlier in the episode, and he's not gonna help himself. He's also gonna help Devers. Bat. He's your primary right-handed bat. You're gonna want home runs from him too. He's gonna get you a lot of strikeouts, but as long as he's getting home runs, that's gonna be okay. Ideally, you would have him as your 5 or 6 hitter, but it just didn't work out that way. I'll put it that way. It didn't work out.
Pretty much.
Ideally, you'd want him
basically.
5 or 6 to put off pressure, but
I'd say 5.
yeah, but whatever. That's a conversation for another day. But yeah, those are our picks.
Yeah. Yep. I think those are our picks. I think they're good. I think a little obvious, but at the same time, we're not gonna lie and say, I don't know.
Bobby Dalbec.
I don't know. But yeah, Bobby Dahlbeck's gonna be the team MVP. No, he's not. You're not. We know you're not stupid.
Don't diss the Bob and
You're not stupid. We're very much aware of that. Let's talk about some hot takes here. We do have kind of a shared one. We only shared one with each other.
It happened to be the same one.
So this is gonna be news to us. But we have one that's kind of the same. So I'll let you go with it, Jason, because I actually did bring an extra one to the table. So
yeah,
I'll let you use our share.
I'll go with my first hot take. Brian Bayo throws a no-hitter. Okay? That's a very hot take. Hasn't been done in over 15 years. Okay?
It
needs a lot of luck. But he almost did it with that god-awful infield with Kike Hernandez, Christian Arroyo, and Rafi Devers. He somehow got through 7+. Okay? He was so close. I think this season you put, for the mentions I said for the Cy Young predictions for the Red Sox, he's very similar in that regard as to, you put everything together, his assets are going to shine. I think if you do that, you might get a bad team here and there. Maybe the Marlins again. Maybe you get the Pirates or the A's. Although we'll find a way to lose to them somehow. But yeah, you'll get a bad team who can't hit a lick off of him, and I think it'll happen. I think, in the words of Dave O'Brien, I think we're due for a no-hitter.
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, well, now you just cursed it. So
no,
good job.
Don't blame me. Blame Dave.
Shout out Dave O'Brien. For me, I'll stick to Trevor Story here, and I'm going to go with Trevor Story having a 30-40 season. 30 home runs, 40 stolen bases. That is a piping hot take. I originally was going to go 30-30, but I'm like, that's kind of bland. He probably steal 30 bases anyways. He stole 10 last year, so I'm like, you know what? 30-40. Let's roll with it. Obviously, you need the power show up. I think he very well could steal 40 bases. I don't think that's going to be the big problem with this take. I think it's, can he hit the 30 home runs? If he's healthy and he's at his best, he definitely can. And I very well could see him stealing 40 bases. It's not totally out of the question. I think it's actually much more likely than him hitting 30 homers. If you look at his career, he stole 27 in 2018, 23. He stole 20 in 21. Last year, he stole 10 in, 43 games. It might be a little tough to get the 40 stolen bases, but if he's hitting well, getting on base more, I think there's a decent chance he actually could steal 40 bases in general. 30 home runs, if he's at his best, like I said, I think he can do it. It's just, will he be at his best? Can he stay healthy? That's the question marks there. But that's what I have. Hand it back over to you, Jason. What's your second hot take?
My second hot take, and this is, I like this one a lot. Cooper Criswell makes 10+ starts by August 1st. Here's why. As I said, the rotation is very fringe. Okay, it's not going to stay healthy. Granted, this goes with any team in the league. You're going to have an injury in the rotation. Unless you have...
Unless you have injuries turned off on MLB The Show.
Unless, yeah, exactly. You have injuries turned off, and you're good. Or you're the 2021 Red Sox, who had no injuries. Somehow. But, yeah. Because if, like we said, if one guy goes down, who's your next guy up? It's got to be Criswell. He can make spot starts. Okay, he'll start if Whitlock goes down on the 15-day, 2 starts there. Then if I don't know, Houck needs some time, 2 starts there. If Pivetta needs to be demoted, that's like at least 4, assuming Criswell stays healthy. So already there, you have 6, 7, 8 starts. And that could be in the span of 1 month. Or not 1 month, sorry. But 2 months. Okay?
What happens if someone gets
really
traded?
think if someone gets traded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Opens up a rotation
Absolutely.
spot.
But I said by August 1st.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. But still, what if he needs that last
still.
start and it's someone gets traded and it's July, trade deadline is July 30th. Oh, he needs to make a start on July 30th. You know what I mean? Or something like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Gets traded
You don't have many guys. You have Winkowski, who maybe could. You have Chase Anderson. I don't know if he's stretched out to a start. He probably is, just for value reasons. Then you have what? Brandon Walter.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this is not really a hot take, but don't be surprised if guys like Luis Perales, Wilkerman Gonzalez have to come up in necessity.
I don't know about Perales.
We saw that with Bayo.
Wilkerman maybe. I don't think.
I'm saying by Wilkerman. No, I'm saying okay. Yeah, Perales. What? He's going to be in Double A this year.
Might start in High A. I think. I think he's a little too far.
You think
away.
High A?
I think he's a little too far away. But Wilkerman, yeah.
I had him.
Wilkerman, yeah.
Wilkerman or Dick Fitz.
Yeah. Yeah. Or Sandlin even maybe. But
or Sandlin.
Maybe. I think Sandlin might be might start in High A.
Sandlin's going to start in Double. Double or High A.
He might start in High A.
We'll see.
Whoever, basically anyone who starts the year in Double A in the rotation might be an option. Double A or higher.
Right. I mean, we saw with Bayo. Bayo just got promoted, and then they needed him in emergency.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Exactly.
They could go to the Double A and be like, we are desperate.
Yeah.
This bullpen is gassed. No one is ready in the rotation.
Guys like Hunter Dobbins could.
Hunter Dobbins. CT.
No, he's a reliever, but.
Does he start?
No,
He's a reliever.
But like guys like Dobbins, Isaac Coffey, maybe like a Grant Gambrell or Brian Van Bell, and like an absolute necessity if they just need to truck someone on the 40-man to DFA them a week later.
Right.
Which
yeah,
I hate
exactly.
to say that
but
about those guys because I love them, but like. Yeah.
Or Brian Mata might be an option.
No.
Later on.
No chance.
Maybe.
No chance.
You think he's a reliever?
He's not starting. He's got injured too many times for me to even think they want to have him start. And I love Mata, but it's not happening.
What about as an opener?
That's a different conversation, though. That's not, like, really a starter. So, like, they start the game, but, like, they're not doing a starter workload.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's my take.
But, yeah, Criswell's the top guy. For me, this might be my hottest take of them all. Masataka Yoshida wins the American League batting title. Last year, through his first 88 games, he hit .320. And his batting average was still over 300 until like mid to late August. If they give him the proper rest and they don't play him in left field a ton, maybe like half the time even, no more. As long as he doesn't play left field like every day, I think he has a legitimate stance at staying healthy, not fatiguing. He doesn't have the WBC this year, and legitimately making a run at an AL batting title. Now, for a reminder. Corey Seager, I think, led the AL in batting average last year at like 327. He didn't play a full season. I'm not banking on Corey Seager to hit 327 in a full year. Sorry, Yandy Diaz hit 330. That's, I think, his biggest competition, Yandy Diaz. So I don't see Corey Seager hitting 327 again, and then after that in the AL was Bo Bichette who hit 306. And I don't think Bo Bichette's hitting 320. I think Yoshida could very well be around the 320 range, and I think that gives him a very good shot. Arises in the National League, you don't have to worry about him hitting 390 or whatever the heck it is he's going to hit, right? I think Yoshida has a very good chance at it if they give him the proper rest. And you only need like 500, just over 500 plate appearances to be qualified. Casas was qualified and he only played like 130 games last year. So he doesn't even need to play like 150. He could play like 130, 135 and still be qualified and have a chance to win that batting title. So for that reason, I'm going with Masataka Yoshida winning the AL batting title.
No, I definitely agree with that. I agree with that take. I think he has a very, very good chance of it. Yeah, like you said, WBC kind of hurt him, and he's gonna play more DH too.
Yep.
Get him off his feet more. He's trying to still, and he got into better shape apparently. I mean, a lot of these guys have, but should I go with my next take?
Yeah, let's wrap it up with one more hot take here from each of us.
One more hot take.
One more hot take for the podcast. We may have more coming out on TikTok or.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna pull it out. Ceddanne Rafaela earns a Gold Glove in the outfield. He's just so good defensively.
Yeah.
We talked before this, and they usually take a center fielder, right?
Yeah, typically.
Typically. Center fielders are not too deep in the American League.
Defensively wise. Miles Straw just got basically cut.
Miles Straw, very good. Just got, on waivers, or did he get cut?
I don't remember if it was waivers or DFA.
But whatever.
Whatever.
Point being, competition is going to get easier for him.
Yeah. Kiermaier can't stay healthy. You have Chas McCormick. Jose Siri. In the AL East, you have Jose Siri, Aaron Judge. Yeah, but they also have Mauricio Dubon. But he'll win the utility again. Yeah, exactly. McCormick could play a lot of left field with Alvarez DHing.
I think, and even in right field too, how many guys, I know it's apples and oranges here, but just in terms of center field though,
it's not a ton.
Rafaela might be, you could even say with Kiermaier, he's one of the best defensive center fielders. Don't be shocked if he's the best center fielder in the American League.
Yeah, defensively. That would not be surprising.
That wouldn't shock me at all.
Nope.
And I think for that reason, he'll win a Gold Glove.
Exactly. My last hot take, I'm going to say this with no reasoning at all. Brian Mata makes his big league debut with the Red Sox in 2024. There's your hot take. No rhyme, no reason. Somehow, some way, he does make his big league debut and doesn't have to go on waivers by getting, sent down to the minors. They somehow find a way, and he gets his big league debut healthy. Big if, but they figure it out somehow, some way. And I think that's a perfect place to wrap it up on. Brian Mata makes his big league debut with the Red Sox. Yippee-ki-yay, about damn time. Because I do hope he really does good, though. I'm really hopeful for him because I just want him to stay healthy and with the Red Sox. So please, Mata, stay healthy, get in the bullpen, pitch good so we don't have to get rid of you. And for that, my name is Derek. I'm here with Jason. Thanks for tuning in to the Fenway Focus. Check out all our socials, and we will see you next time.